Okay. Off we go to Inkopolis.
Here we go. Oh my. That bass. Oh, it fills the whole screen.
A charger in name only, more so its own weapon class, the Bamboozler 14 Mark 1. Strap in, because it's about to get complicated.
Okay, just a few things right off the bat. Edited by Yo Schiller, based. Yo Schiller's cool, even though he does like most of these, but like still worth pointing out. Second, good song, made by Family Jewels.
The weapon is made of exceptions. This is by far the weakest charger, in terms of power at least. Hitting for 30 to 85 damage, never able to score a one-hit kill, but has the fastest charge time at 1/3 of a second and the best mobility, since it's the only lightweight of its weapon class. Speaking of mobility, its charge penalty in midair is nowhere near as bad as the others.
Okay, I'm just going to do thorough analysis of this.
And the best.
He says 1/3 of a second for the charge time. Technically true, but there is like firing time and recoil time, so it ends up being closer to half a second than 1/3 of a second.
Mobility, since it's the only lightweight of its weapon class. Speaking of mobility, its charge penalty in midair is nowhere near as bad as the others. Despite the usual trend, it sports some good range, squeezing in between a Squiffer and a Splat charge.
True.
It's less obvious when it's charging, as it does not glow like its one-shot counterparts. As for the negatives, it cannot store a charge and does not do enough damage to qualify for the pierce damage mechanics against ink armor. Which is mondo bad, because that means at least 3 shots are needed to dispatch an armored foe.
That took like 5 shots. Yes, that is true. When double armor got meta, that's when we saw a lot of Bamboo players drop out of the game, is because it doesn't really have any benefits against armor. Tip for dealing with armor: if you aren't like using a special weapon or something, like Mark II has Object Shredder, and if you do Object Shredder Burst Bomb Launcher, that should shred armor really quickly. Otherwise, just use tap shots. Like, if you need 1 shot to get rid of the armor anyway, why make it a long charge shot?
Speaking of not
because it's not going to give you any benefits.
The Bamboozler also isn't strong enough to pierce an enemy it kills, and thus cannot shoot someone on the other side of them like other snipes.
Technically true, but there are collaterals with the weapon, thanks to things like lag. So yeah, you can't rely on piercing, but it's not like chargers rely on it either.
It can only finish 1 enemy at a time. Despite those highs, it sounds terrible, and like it would have a high skill floor if you must always land 2 or even 3 consecutive shots.
It does have a high skill floor.
But that's where the gimmick comes in. Unlike other chargers, the charge only determines damage. The range is constant. A full charge followed up by anything else will always clutch a win from the same distance. Why fully charge a second shot ever? Its best ability is its spam ability. I've seen this called the tap in the community and love that self-explanatory name, so let's use it. It's quite a strong revenge killer, or able to instantly cover an enemy's escape route to make them easier to shoot at.
It is the tap.
Ink consumption is pretty high, only allowing for 11 fully charged shots.
Used to be 14.
Call this a weakness, but realistically, you're not going to be shooting so often that the whole tank gets used.
Yes and no. There's a reason they did make that nerf to ink consumption. If you're just using the main weapon, then yes, it won't matter. But if you're doing something like the Mark III, or even trying to combo with like the Mark II or something, it does become problematic. And it also, since it's a wall-out weapon, you're supposed to be scaring off your opponents with it, which means if you have less ammunition to work with, then you won't be able to scare off opponents for as long, which does mean it is important. It still gets a good amount of output though, so is it a weakness? I don't know, not really, but also it is something to consider.
Spam that constant range. The ink consumption isn't anything you would ever think about as long as you're sitting in ink when there's nothing to do. When putting all the pieces together, it's not really what I would call a charger, since it doesn't have any of the uses a charger player would enjoy from their weapon. Instead, it's focused on completely separate strengths. Main power-up, however, is familiar. It gives damage up! With 44 AP, that is 99.9 damage. But some players might want to stack even higher. Due to the constant...
Higher than 99.9. That is a genuine first. I've never heard this one.
range, it can hit for 99.9 with a less than full charge if it's gone all in with main power up.
If you want that one frame difference, I guess. Okay, problem here. Main power up has diminishing returns, right? Like every weapon, every ability does. If you're at 99.9, you're arguably too far. Like you barely have enough room for utility subs. Barely have enough room for like Inksaber main, which is very valuable on this weapon. But like, yeah, you don't need more. You don't need more than 99.9, because even though you could get it for like one frame less, like the value from something like having another sub is so much more. Arguably, you don't need 99.9 even. Nico needs 99.9 because he has the funny montage. Everyone else can go like 99, 99.6, 99.4. Other values. Heck, I'd argue that you can go down to like 98 if you really want some other subs.
If they have any damage from enemy ink whatsoever, it's a speedy killer. Without main power up, the damage output of the Bamboozler is one of the worst of any weapon, yet with it, it becomes one of the best.
Okay, just gonna clarify for him because I know what he's trying to say, and it doesn't sound quite right, but it does. He said lowest damage output. I assume that means just on enemies, which is kind of true, kind of not. Like, its time to kill an individual enemy is like average, maybe a bit below average, depending on what you're arguing. Its overall damage output, as in like to objects and stuff, is still crazy.
You know, weird, right? With the sort of damage it can hit and how instantly it can attack at long range, the Bamboozler is an assist specialist. It does well bridging damage gaps. The high damage and instant range of the main weapon is about the best source for assist possible, as unlike throwing attacks, no ability can mitigate it.
True. Like, this is why playing Bamboo with a good comp is very important, because if you have a comp with something like Chargers, you aren't going to be comboing off of anything they do. Versus if you have something with a lot of bombs, a lot of chip damage, you'll be comboing with them all the time.
Its sub-weapon is Curling Bomb!
There it is,
Unlikely to do
Nicolini.
damage, but gives a way to move all about or give an enemy something to run away from. Go bowling through a long, thin area before advancing to test the waters. Ink consumption isn't such an issue since it'll be swimming around or sitting still a lot in normal play. Combine this with long, thin ink lines the main weapon makes, and it can swim around quite a lot. And we've got...
Okay, I don't play Mark 1 as much, so maybe somebody in chat can kind of like comment on this a bit better than I do, but I think for the most part that's kind of right. He should have mentioned like quick escapes, because quick escapes are where curling bombs are super nice, and then Gambit is like the secret technique. I guess it's fine for like peeking out over areas, but the problem is like it doesn't have too much more range than the main weapon, so like the problem you see with Mark 1 players is you just don't see a lot of curling bombs being used anywhere. Main thing is quick escape and Gambit. So like for the most part, if you're using the Mark 1, you shouldn't be using curling too much. And it's also good for opening, I guess. Like opening, moving forward. Yeah, it's just used for mobility outside of when you're doing the fully charged Gambit stuff. If you don't know what we're talking about with the Gambit, basically it's just hide behind a wall, fully charge a curling bomb. Since the blast radius increases, it becomes more of a lethal sub. And the Bamboozler is like the only weapon that you can like effectively pull that off with and have it be worthwhile, because it is the only long-range weapon that you can really like close out, and they aren't expecting you to have anything to do at close range. So if you can trap them with that, it's good.
Tenta Missiles! Here's where this one really shines. The Tenta Missiles provide tracking of as many enemy targets as you want, enabling for easy shootings. Not only that, but they're pretty likely to at least damage a foe a tiny bit, and that's more than enough for the one-hit kill afterwards. Your instant range can even make it hard for them to swim away from the missiles homing. Overall, this is a slept-on weapon due to how unique it is and how specific its workings are. It's great at getting pickoffs, better at painting than most other chargers, and missiles are excellent for playing support. It's quite strong, but in very specific ways. For abilities!
Okay, wait. We gotta look at these. Port Mackerel, TC Rainmaker, Clam. Seems pretty accurate, yeah. I'd throw zones in there personally. There's no zones map, even though this is a very good zones weapon. Which is my main critique, but like, all 4 of these maps are pretty solid. Kelp Dome has some arguments once you get to higher level. Walleye has some arguments once you get to higher level, but like, generally speaking, for most people, like this is a very solid set of maps.
Strong, but in very specific ways. For abilities, wow, we're this far in, I'm recommending a new ability today.
Oh no. What ability hasn't he mentioned? What hasn't he mentioned, guys? He's mentioned Thermal Link. It's not Thermal Link. Is it going to be Tenacity? I don't know if he's mentioned Tenacity. I think he mentioned Haunt.
We are finally covering Ink Save.
Okay. True. He did, like, ignore Ink Saver Main, and I was like, well, it's good on this weapon. Appropriate reveal.
Ink Saver Main is less ink consumption from the main weapon, as the name implies. Generally, this is a piss-poor ability. Think about slightly reducing ink consumption of a weapon that shoots 100 bullets anyway.
This is base, the most base reveal that had us worried.
A sub-weapon, or even a second sub-usage. Your slots are better used on other things in all but a few cases. So something has to be ink-hungry to warrant it, and well, we have that. 2 subs of Ink Saver Main enables 2 extra fully charged shots.
There it is, 2 subs. Oh no, there it is. No. There it is. There's the Thermal Link. But yes. 2 subs of Ink Saver Main. If you're using main power-up, like, or not using main power-up, make sure you have that. 2 subs, 2 shots. Great for this wall-out weapon. Special power-up, not on Mark 1. Missiles are not super necessary, at least at high level. Maybe, arguably, if you're getting better at it, but like, nah. Object Shredder's good. Swim Speed's good. Thermal Link is Thermal Link. In theory, it's good on this weapon. I think it's fine for like lower level players. This is the subtle jab at the Thermal Link army. But at high level play, for the most part, you should just be able to track where your opponents are mentally, and the tap should just be enough to kill. Like, you won't get too much mileage out of Thermal Link. And then, yeah, main power up. Can't object to this, except for the special power up, really.
Due to not much stacking required, yes, it's finally recommended. I know I said that the ink consumption's not an issue, but you might as well have the option there if it is there, and that's not a lot of stacking. I also want to give special attention to Thermal Ink.
Oh no.
Since it cannot one-shot an enemy, this tags them if they get away and can allow for a finisher later on while they're still healing from the heavy initial damage. Ray MK2! That's how I pronounced that trophy in Melee as a kid. And then I learned how stupid I sounded when I was like 14. It's got Toxic
MK2.
Mist. Actually not too bad of a sub-weapon this one time, as hitting them with Toxic Mist lowers their stats and that makes them easy to tap them. We kinda like this. It also checks through walls for targets before moving on. Most of all in a long-range weapon, I toss it to keep an enemy away from an objective. At 60% ink, you won't have many shots left after this, and it can get milled through faster than on most any other weapon due to the constant range incentivizing shot spam. And we've got Burst Bomb Launcher! only on 2 weapons, rarest special of them all. Remember that your main weapon isn't locked out during a launcher. This is a dangerous combination because when the burst bomb does 25 to 60 and your main shot does 30 to 85, you could land any hit at all, get them stuck in ink, and then do a full charge. Alternatively, you could plop it on their head and barely charge at all afterward.
So, okay, 2 things. One, I don't remember if he played Soda Slosher or like Deco or Vanilla. I think he played Soda, so Burst Bomb Launcher got some coverage. Second thing, yes, that is true with the combos where you can do Burst Bomb main weapon combos, but I would argue from my experience with the weapon that, like, why would you do that? Like, just throw burst bombs at someone, and enough burst bombs will cause them to die. And burst bombs get a good amount of ground coverage, and they do area of effect. It's like, maybe there's an argument, but like switching between burst bomb firing mode and shot firing mode is at least a little bit confusing mentally, and also like doesn't have much of a payoff. So yeah, at the very beginning or the very end of the special, it is useful, but in the middle, don't switch to it generally.
All while
like
having
just
the
fire
allure
burst
of
bombs.
the double burst bomb hit as another option. An unconventional strength is increased mobility while the special is available. Don't discount the ability to instantly create ink. Besides that, it's pretty much the only way the Bamboozler can shut down a rush with certainty or attack.
So like this right here, watch the charger on the right.
Available. Don't discount the ability to...
So like there, you got the shot. This would be a good opportunity for that combo. Is right at the very end.
Besides that, it's pretty much the only way the Bamboozler can shut down a rush with certainty or attack behind walls easily. A burst bomb could lower their movement options, making it easy to snipe, or on the reverse, you can hit them with a full charge and then follow up with an easy-to-land burst bomb to get the kill. The range is similar, and they should be able to attack in tandem with each other pretty easily. This isn't a particularly popular weapon, but I feel like it has enough unique about it that it may be worth trying every now and then.
Yeah.
If only there was some sort of system that recommended weapons for specific maps and modes.
Okay, let's look at this. Zones for all of these. Mark II is definitely strongest at the Rainmaker level, or on Rainmaker for me, in my opinion. I feel like that's its best mode. Something like Mako Rainmaker. Like, I don't know how I feel about Manta. Manta's never been a really strong map for the main weapon. It's been fine, but like it's not amazing. Zones Piranha Pit. Yeah, like all of them are good there. And Camp is like, yeah, it's all right. It's probably, I don't know which one's best. I feel like Mark 1 might be a little bit more useful in that one because then it's not restricted by range and the separation of the map. Generally, if I were to make this list, I'd probably replace like Manta Maria zones with something like Mako Rainmaker, because you have that block on the right side and that thin passageway on the left side, where you can just stop pushes by yourself with Mist and then wall them out. But yeah, I wish there was a little bit more of a focus on different modes here.
Something I have to say about this one on the whole is the terrible object damage output. The Mark 1 had bad object damage without the curling bomb, but this one just has...
Okay, similar lineup. Special charge up is good. Worth noting on this one is, since it's a lower cost special, it doesn't require as much... it doesn't like give you as much points saved as something like a 210 special would give you. It's still good. It's still good for just like having that constant switching between burst bomb mode and normal firing mode, because being able to switch between those two is very useful for just being a constant source of pressure. But you know, just something to remember. It gives you less. It's still like it's still a good ability, and Object Shredder is really good. And yeah, Object Shredder is great for dealing with armor, especially. Like Mark II Object Shredder is one of my favorite builds to run with this weapon.
Nothing. And then Bamboozler 14 Mark III.
There it is.
It's got Fizzy Bomb.
It does.
Whoa, that's a rare sub weapon. Better watch out with that thing. With long range and good painting, the tossed soda can soften the enemy up nice and easy. After 2 hits, an uncharged shot can finish them off, all while making their feet goopy and easy to hit.
Okay, he's probably going to mention this in the next, 5 seconds, but, you don't want 2 hits from the fizzy and then a tap. You want 1 hit from the fizzy and a full charge.
Especially when they have to pass through uninkable ground. With how long range the main weapon is, this makes life quite awkward for them to reach objectives and makes the Bamboozler 14 Mark III a nice gatekeeper.
Yeah, that's how I describe the weapon, is like an area control weapon. He's got it right so far. It's just you don't want the 2 fizzy shots.
That's just talking about ourselves, though. The Bamboozler's 85 plus damage and the Fizzy Bomb's damage both combo well with practically every other move in the game.
There we go.
This is a weapon that goes together with a buddy to score lots of wins and make life easier on the teammate. And its special weapon is Bubble Blower. Colors in a splat zone, acts as a shield for everyone, and can get less precise kills than the main weapon would normally allow for.
Yep.
It's on a long-range weapon, too. Now, when compared to the other weapons, this might look bad. 190 isn't a low charge.
Okay, we'll hear it out on this
other
one.
weapons earn theirs faster or with less points. At least a Fizzy Bomb on its second tier of charge can insta-pop a freshly made bubble, so there's that. But that's really about it.
Yep. He doesn't show it off, but in this footage, or right now. The counter-argument to that is you don't need bubbles to spam. You'd never need to spam specials, or at least for bubbles, because, it's all about pushing in with the team and taking over at key points. There are specials that you do want to spam, something like Armor, and maybe Burst Bomb Rush, but, for bubbles, you don't need that. You just need to have it by the time your team is pushing in, and that's the important part. And since Bamboo turfs so much, it's not really a hindrance to the weapon at all. I think 190 is a healthy place for this weapon.
This is what I would call the most gear-dependent weapon in the game.
True.
Object Shredder is the...
You can literally only do 2 out of 3 things with this. I'll just do my whole spiel. With this weapon, you can spec into 2 out of 3 things maximum. You can either spec into the main weapon by using main power-up, sub-weapon by using sub power-up last-ditch effort Fizzy Bomb, or sub-saver for Fizzy Bomb, or bubbles, which is Object Shredder special power-up. There's not enough room for you to do all 3 in one kit. You can only do 2. And for me, I do last-ditch effort and special power-up Object Shredder for Fizzy Bomb. Then I have utility subs and some speed and stuff in Inksaber main. But yeah, it is the most gear dependent build in the game. And some people critique that, but no, it has 3 amazing tools. You have to kind of pick 2 to buff and then 1 to just kind of have normally, and I think that is still very powerful.
The necessity due to poor object damage with that special, but then stacking main power-up is the only reason the main weapon would be good at fighting or popping bubbles. If you've got those abilities...
No, you don't need main power-up to pop bubbles. You can use Object Shredder. That's all you... It's the same amount. If you have both, it's overkill, but if you have to decide between 1 main or 3 mains, 5 subs to get about the same amount of object damage, pick the 1 main. And yeah, I feel like Thermal Ink is less worth mentioning here compared to Last Ditch Effort, because Fizzy Bomb.
It's a good bubble blower with some serious potential. If you don't, then it just kind of sucks. But then Inksaber sub for double Fizzy Bombs is one of the best reasons to play a Fizzy Bomb weapon. It would be impossible to dedicate equipment slots to all 3 of these incredibly gear-dependent pieces. In most builds, the Fizzy Bomb is the one that has to go, but no matter what, you sacrifice 1 part from living up to what many would view as the standard.
Exactly. He said it right there, and most people do sacrifice Fizzy Bomb because why would you focus? You have specials, which are the core loop of the game, and you have main power-up, which everybody likes. Okay, let's look at these. Wahoo World Zones, very good for this weapon, yes. Black Blaze Skate Park Zones. I've done surprisingly well in this. This is where I've gotten 2,500 in zones multiple times. Wouldn't call it a good map for it. I'd say something like Piranha Pit is more obviously good for the weapon, but I can't disagree. And yeah, all zones maps. I play it on all modes. I know it's good on all modes, but like zones is where it's most obviously good, and I think this is a fair selection. Gobi is really good. Walleye is a bit rougher, just because Walleye has lockout hell, which is hard to deal with.
It might be the only weapon like this where one piece essentially has to be sacrificed.
Bubble blower, fizzy bomb, patent pending. If you're talking about Instapop is good. Clams is good.
So
It's good in all modes, even Clams.
Today's the day! What day? Y'all know what time it is. League battles! Humpback
League
pump
with
track.
Tetsu. Zones.
New
Ooh.
Albacore Hotel! I get splattered
Solid
by
map
every
set.
time I cross the middle, even if I dodge roll. Well, maybe stop yelling out, booyah! Between each roll.
Pain. He endorsed thermal ink on all 3 kits. It is your lucky day. I will make fun of Thermal Ink because he messed up the Thermal Ink demonstration, but...
So if you thought you were gonna see some Bamboozler gameplay out of me today, I got bad news for you. You got bamboozled. I have brought with me a resident bamboo expert, a craftsman, a man of the jungle, I don't know.
Man of the jungle.
I think Man of the Jungle is more my thing.
Oh, okay, so you holler and you swing around. Okay, gotcha.
Yep. Anyway, hey guys, my name is Kotetsu Ryolu, or you can just call me Tetsu for short. And today I will be helping Chugga provide you with the demonstration of some Bamboozler.
I am awful at that weapon type. It's a lot of skill to be able to land 2 snipes one after another, but you can do it. It's a really high-powered weapon. So why don't you tell us which of the Bamboozlers you're going to be playing in your equipment set?
So for this rotation, I'm actually going to be playing the Mark 1. So I'm going for a more balanced build. I will try to show...
Tetsu, what are you running? Tetsu? Okay. Let's like run through this. I want to like zoom in for being funny, but like I also don't want to completely ruin my setup. It's fine. Okay, let's go step by step. Hat. That's a pretty good hat. Last ditch effort is very good on the weapon, especially on zones, and you got all 3 utility subs, which is great to see. Yeah. Very, very good. Okay, yep, swim speed, and 2 subs of Ink Saver main and ink recovery. 2 subs of Ink Saver main, very good. I don't know if the ink recovery I'd recommend with last ditch effort, but it's fine for a balance set. And swim speed's generally pretty good with the weapon. It stacks pretty well. It's nice for escaping situations, getting back in. What is this? Chara, you have to like... Chara, can you explain with this one, like, is this made for playing with specific weapons? Because generally, for the most part, like, the consensus is don't use partial MPU. Like, I guess it's okay on the Mark 1, but I feel like something like Special Charge would be more useful. Because my argument is just, like, nothing does in between, like, 4 damage, which is just, like, stepping in ink, and 15 damage. Like, very few things do that. Like, Gluga fall off, or Brella single particle. So, things like that. Things that are not going to happen all that much. And it's fine for, like, if you're trying to track an enemy down after they're recovering ink. But, like, I don't know. I feel like it just doesn't seem particularly worth it. True, a single torpedo bullet does 12 damage. That is in the realm. But at that point, they're also probably stuck in ink, which means they've taken a little bit more damage. Well, he's probably going to explain it, which means we should hear him out. But, like, this is general consensus-wise. Like, this is not what I would this is not something I would even recommend, is like using just a little bit of main power up. It's admittedly it is not something that has been tested thoroughly or experimented with super well, so I'm glad someone's trying to run it, but like I don't know. I feel like since the difference between no main power up and main power up in terms of damage percent killing at full charge is like 35 for no MPU and like 55% of the time you kill on a full charge with MPU, and the fact that you can just kind of adapt around people playing it, like it's just not super worth it. Is like you can just kind of adapt instead of relying on this little piece of extra gear, and you could instead use this gear on other things. Like I said, for this one, probably like special charge.
Showcase 2 different builds. This one is the more balanced one.
2 different builds.
So I have Last Ditch Effort for, for zones. It's really good for zones with what I call the 3 essential subs of Quick Super Jump, Bomb Defense, and Ink Res. Yep. I got Swim Speed on because Swim Speed on a light weapon is really, really good. And I got 2 subs of Ink Saber Main for the 2 extra shots. And then we're running a little bit of main power up for that extra bit of damage to make kills a little bit more consistent. The other build I'm going to be showing is the max damage build, which this is for slaying. This is
okay. So he says make kills more consistent, and yes, it is just a little bit more consistent. And like, I don't know, I can't say it's necessarily bad on the Mark 1, but at least personally, I would focus more on something like special charge, considering how good missiles and missile spam is right now. So I don't know. It does make things more consistent, but arguably how consistent it is yeah. Emphasis on a little bit, yeah. Because like I said, nothing really does that much damage. Not very many things do in between 4 and 15 damage. And then this build, we've seen this one before. Interesting how he is going for full 99.9 and not having a sub bomb defense. But
getting picks. This is for getting kills. So this
it's not out of nowhere.
I'll be trying to show these 2 sets while we play this rotation.
These 2 sets.
Also worth noting, I'm glad someone was finally smart enough to realize that they play 2 games together and can show 2 different sets. I don't think anybody else has done that, right? Like, am I forgetting? I feel like nobody has remembered that when making this series. And I feel like that should be what people have been doing, is like show off 2 different parts of the weapon. You did it with range? Oh yeah, because you played the super long. You played like 8 rounds, and yeah. I think more people should be doing that at the very least. Yeah, you're right. I'm remembering now. My brain is foggy, but I'm.
You got me there. I wasn't expecting that one.
I do like that you're doing multiple comps, because this is like I was saying in the bio, this is a super gear dependent weapon where the individual parts are honestly kind of weak unless you have the right gear for it, and there's a lot of different directions you could go because there's rarely enough room to stack for everything.
Disagree with that statement, just because, top JP Bamboo players use QR, and that doesn't help you with anything. Not all the top JP players. Like, a lot of competitive ones use MPU, but a lot of really good ones, like solo queue warriors, tend to use QR and come back and stuff like that. Which doesn't buff the weapon. It's still a good base main weapon, still a good base set of tools.
I agree with that. Usually in ranked, the max damage build is probably the most common that you'll see, but people
we're talking about Bamboo. Feel free to comment on range and QR though, because I'm interested. I like range.
Definitely have labbed this weapon and found many different builds that you can run with it, so it's pretty flexible.
It is very flexible.
I guess we can just jump in and get started. You and I have played together before, and I wanted to show this on screen just how impressive this was. we did a squad battle, and we were ranked 45th in the world on that map rotation. We were just barely in the silver. It's the best I've ever done. So hopefully we'll see some good gameplay today.
Tetsu going crazy.
That's pretty good.
I was pretty happy with that. Almost got gold.
I mean, I'll take it.
Ah, fair enough.
Guys,
I was just gonna say, Chara, I stole your gear build, so I run. I've been playing a little bit of Grim Range recently, and I just stole your build. Like, I think that build's good.
Sorry for your ears.
Jesus Christ.
No, we're good.
I can't believe it. Finally! I want to hammer this in. There are 23 stages, and it picks 2 random ones that are different each time. That's roughly a 1 in 11 chance I have failed 40 times in a row. I can't believe that happened. So, New Abukar Hotel, it favors long range, I would say, more than any other map in the game. You got these several sniper perches that are possible from either side. Those boxes that you can hide behind, that guy over there is doing that. And you got these long, uninkable grates that can be used to cross over an enemy territory within a relatively short space, though, but I wouldn't recommend doing it unless you have to. In some rank modes, it might be the best option, such as getting the objective over in Rainmaker, but it is risky as hell, as your movement options are greatly limited, and they're, I guess, a little better if you're playing as dualies, but not by much. So now we got the main gimmick out of the way.
Except I still think dualies are a bit rough on that.
This specific one. How about you tell us about what you're doing at the start of the match?
So usually at the start of the match, I like to take a position where I'm in range to usually get shots on people, because you're still a charger. You still want to be in positions where you can get picks. Presence is what really matters as a charger, so that is usually what I try to do at the start of every match.
Exactly.
I can't believe I killed that charger. Like, that was damaged fall off as hell, and that still works.
You'd be surprised.
Man, I can't believe I did that. That shot, like, arced down and just bopped him on the head very slightly. So, getting in a lot of points here. We nullified the splashdown. That guy's dead. The charger is back online. Ooh.
Yep, we got the blaster just camping on this.
Run away, Chugga. You're out of ink.
Shot because I recently 1000%ed Octo Canyon, so I wanted to at least get some use out of the things I've learned. Somebody has really bad internet. I just had a puddle of ink materialize in front of me in like 1 frame. But I wanted to use this partly because it is based on a P90, meaning that it's one of the few times you can actually use a real gun in Splatoon.
True.
When you know that.
Okay, wait, guys, I'm noticing something. You see that? See that? Enemy splashdown? Tetsu, make us proud.
That looks kind of funny and out of place, though, so I just wanted to draw attention to that because it's a fun bit of trivia. We're at 30 points on the board, though, so we're already getting the max benefit of the last-ditch effort, which I also ran.
Yeah.
Excellent ability for this mode.
Enemy is
I
last
agree.
ditch, yeah.
This ability is extremely good for zones, especially in overtime situations.
Yeah, a lot of people tell me like why I don't run it in every match, and it's just simply because running it is a gamble. It could do nothing for you in addition to that, so you do have to be pretty certain that the current map and mode rotations favors close games that are going to have a lot of scoring.
Yes.
I commented on this, I don't know if this was yesterday or some other previous episode, but he mentioned that with, he feels like every other mode is a gamble. I'd say Clam Blitz is the only true gamble, because otherwise it's more of a fail-safe. For, like, you know, enemy pushes in pretty far. Well, now you have more ink, which means you can stop them from pushing even further, and then you have more tools for pushing in on your end. Like, his tiers were right, where, like, Zones is the best, then Rainmaker, then TC, then Clams. But it's still worth running on TC and Clams. It's the best ability right now, arguably.
Or just, like, kind of very snowball-heavy maps.
Yeah, oh, jeez, double Tenta Missiles. I got targeted on both of those. I didn't realize it until
Burst bomb fell right on my head.
And we're just about control. No.
Nope.
I got sniped.
Yeah, this E-leader.
For some reason I thought they had 2 sniping weapons on their side, though, but no, that's a Jet Squelcher.
Oh, this E-leader's watching me.
Oh, the Grim Range combo. They tried.
Jet Squelcher just, see that.
I'll take this risk.
Ah, I tried to burst bomb.
Almost.
He is weak.
Soften him up. Burst bomb together with a Bamboozler would be a good pair to kind of travel together.
Yes. You usually like a lot of chip damage weapons to run with Bamboozler. Something with Burst Bomb is always welcome.
Good team.
Exactly. I will comment that, like, oh my god, the luck. Like, E-Leader and Jet Squelcher. Like those are two of the roughest matchups in the game for this weapon.
They're gone.
Out the rain. No.
I was trying to rush them down. Jet Squelcher just barely got me.
I gotta get out
They're
here.
so blue looking. They look like they're on our team.
Yeah.
Oh no. Okay, we gotta stop this before it begins.
You do got a splash on the other side.
They do have double fizzy if they're if Tetsu was running Mark III.
Gonna get back up a little bit. We need to like get in there and do something like right away. Ah! Bow!
There we go.
Let's go.
In the zone.
Saw the opening, went for it, took it for us. They got a nice big hefty penalty. We got a minute left. We might pull it off.
That was a good play.
Thank you. I jinxed nothing. Good. You got the assist
Oh,
there.
they have splashdown ready.
One down.
No. They
let's
used
help
it
out
before
back there.
Tetsu could shoot it down.
I was gonna pressure this guy from behind the wall. Damn
there we go. Got the jet. Is he gonna push? Yes, he did.
Let's go.
Got him.
Go this way. Gonna jump to you, Tetsu.
Try to protect your dump. Okay.
2,
Dang.
1.
Tetsu went crazy there.
There we go.
That really was just like why this weapon is so good. Is if you have control, you have control. Like, what can they do? What can they do? You have range, you have damage, you can fire quickly, you're adaptable, you move fast. Once you have control, you're in control. It's a great feeling.
Didn't even need the whole stinking timer. Good first match.
Props to Tetsu for getting
I
that
just can't
triple.
believe how long it took for this to pop up. I kept thinking, surely it'll happen soon. And on average, we would have seen all of the maps within,
Top
like,
frag. Woo!
It was counting Salmon Run, maybe
Bamboo
like 15
represent.
episodes, and it's taken this long for just this one
Here,
area.
because you guys, I don't expect you guys to
Always
sub
have
or
that one map
anything.
that never shows up.
It
There
isn't
it
truly
is.
random because the ranked rotations do change every month, where there's only a few maps per mode, just so it's not overwhelming.
Yeah.
So there are certain maps that will just never pop up because they weren't selected for any mode that month. But yeah, I don't know. It took a really long time. I do play more ranked than I do Turf Wars. I just prefer it.
Yeah. I think the set rotations is really nice, and especially because in X rank you have powers that people grind for, so having a set rotation is pretty nice.
Oh, absolutely. Trying to maintain your X rank when there's effectively over 100 ranked maps in this game, because there's always slight differences for each mode. It would be maddening. I remember that back in the Splatoon 1 days, there was a lot of struggle with that, of just how many maps that the players had to learn. But limiting it like that, I think, is a lot better. You do kind of see tournaments doing set maps, especially in the finals.
Mm-hmm.
So I do kind of prefer that. I do.
Yeah. One of the biggest problems with Splatoon is just kind of learning all the maps. I like the idea of just kind of designing maps around specific modes of like, this will be our Rainmaker map. It is specifically designed for Rainmaker, to be interesting for Rainmaker, so we don't have stuff like Ink Blot Rainmaker in our map lists. Like, it is a very efficient system to just make one map and then like slightly tweak it for every mode, but like it's not great. It's not a great system. Just for like what is it? 23 maps, 5 modes each. That's what, like 125? 115 things we have to memorize.
I kind of wish that the community
So,
had.
let's go.
Perhaps
Love
maybe
set
played
map
with
lists.
the current rotation of like what the maps were in ranked or something.
Yeah. They usually determine it by how balanced the maps are.
Yes and no. FLC made a tweet a while ago that was like a chart showing which maps were the most and least common. And it's funny how like there's some overlap with competitive map lists, but not entirely. So like, is it the most balanced? Maybe, maybe not.
So it's not.
So are you playing the pure damage build with us?
Yes. So
Okay.
So for this build, you're basically playing for slaying. So if they touch my ink for even 1 frame and they have no ink resistance and I hit them, they will most likely die. So it's a very...
And with ink resistance, it's like 9 frames if you have 1 sub. So it's not a lot better.
very dangerous build if you're playing against it.
Got back in control.
Oh, we got push right there.
Let's go.
We got a splash behind us.
Ah, I didn't think I get sniped there. I didn't think he was in the middle. Squiffers always get you away faster than you think they're going to. I always think like, oh, I got time. They just fired and then.
Yep.
Nah, Squiffer's
There
crazy.
we go, got a pick.
Sounded like the baller sound effect, what I just said.
Yeah.
Popping that.
And hit missiles.
All of these. Alright, I got my splash down. Nobody's in the zone that I can jump. Shoot, now we go.
Double splash down.
The double splashdown.
Oh yeah!
Except
Somehow we only
Didn't
made
get
them
in the
lose
zone,
and they're
though.
back in control.
Yes.
Someday I'll win on my favorite map. I tend to lose on this one a lot, even though I always am like, oh yeah, my favorite map.
It's a very
It's always
easy
my curse.
map.
Every time I say something's easy, I fail at it. Every time I'm like, oh, this is so hard, guys, I do it in one try.
Yeah, this is a very like lockout heavy map, so it's definitely not your fault. It's definitely the map in its nature.
I like this map a lot more when playing long range, personally.
I agree.
No!
Tragic.
Tried to get in and use my
They
splashdown.
just got locked out, yeah.
Surprised that double splashdown didn't cap the zone.
Yeah, I know. They took control back right away.
They
didn't
do one
even
more
give him a
game?
penalty.
Looks like there's one more game.
No.
Yeah.
Didn't count for nothing. We got 4 kills. Would you like to maybe do a third match because that one was over very quickly?
Yes, I would love to.
Top frag again.
Oh, new Albuquerque Hotel again. All right, well, at least it'll favor the long range.
Yep.
So, okay. A big point about the Bamboozler is that, quite frankly, it's some of the worst damage in the game if you don't run damage up. But if you do go for damage up, it's some of the best damage output in the game. And
Not true.
That kind of brings me to something about main power-up that I feel. I don't know if it was really the right choice for them to bring that back. I kind of liked it better when there was no damage up in this game because it feels like it's the one thing in the game that there isn't really a good counter to, because other than ink resist up protecting you in enemy ink, there's no defensive ability like there was in Splatoon 1 to counter it, and when balancing this game, they seem to like giving everything a downside and not making anything all powerful, but weapons that get damage up feel like the exception to that rule, and it's no coincidence that the weapons that get it are the ones that actually play main power up more than any other weapons, and are ones that see playability.
True. I like the concept of main power up. I don't like the addition of damage up. Although I will argue, I have made this argument before. I do think Bamboozler specifically with main power up becomes more of a internal discussion rather than boosts damage, good, because you have to charge up your shots entirely versus most of the way at a tap, and there become internal debates there, like arguably at optimal play, based on just the statistics I've pulled from just watching streamers and stuff. Arguably you have about the same performance if you play optimally with and without MPU, which then becomes okay, it's more of a consistency tool and more of a fear tactic rather than it being just, oh, my weapon is better. It becomes more of an interesting thing than most other weapons.
So I kind of wish that damage
And
up
yeah,
was
main
the
power up as a
thing.
constant.
Yeah, a lot of
It's
people
good,
will agree with you.
but
even as a
damage
Bamboozler
up.
main, and yes, I run main power up when I'm trying to grind my rank.
You're part of the problem.
No, I'm definitely part of the problem. So yeah, I'm definitely part of the problem. It's especially when there's no counter, and the counter, quote unquote, is running a ton of ink resistance, which in the long run doesn't really help you at all.
No, it helps you from one damage source. Pretty much the only way that I would... It's weird, though, because I would say that damage up could be even seen as more powerful than in the first game, because the first game you at least had an ability that hard countered it. In this one, you don't. You're only able to protect yourself from one damage source. The only way that damage up itself really got nerfed is that it's not on all weapons, and you can't bridge damage with bombs better, because it affected all damage in the first game. But not having defense up to worry about, I think on some matchups, can make it even more deadly.
And every meta, there's always been some kind of damage up weapon to kind of take the reins of the comp scene.
Is that true? I know there was K-Pro for a while, and I guess right now it's Splash, but it kinda, yeah, I guess. Then Bamboo was there for a while. I feel like there were metas where there weren't At least like in the West, because in Japan, Bamboo has generally been pretty meta, and then when that switched out, that became like, oh yeah, I guess CDS too. Yeah. Um, I feel like there were some periods where there wasn't anything, but for the most part, yeah, fair enough description. Just a good generalization. I'm going into the nitty gritty. This is technically not true. For the most part, it's true.
Yeah, I guess to be fair, we don't have a. Maybe I am being a little bit
Good
harsh when I
splash
say that it is
Dead.
like possibly more dangerous than the first game because we're at least not seeing the E-liter meta where people are getting like 1 second charges out of an E-liter.
Oh no.
Man, we sweeped up.
But GooTuber, on the other hand, GooTuber has damage up, and it can do the E-liter thing. I really hope GooTuber is just like semi-reworked. Like they give it. I've proposed some ideas for it. Like those would make the weapon really fun and unique without just being like, oh, we took bad weapon and we're trying to make it good weapon, without changing the bad things about it.
Yeah,
really did much.
We were just talking about main power up, and there we go.
I just
we
kind
win.
of bitched about damage up for 10 seconds, and then we won. Well, do you feel like you got a lot of picks there, though? Because we were winning really well. You
Oh, I'm not top frag.
Hey, 7 kills, wow.
Yeah, I definitely will show off the one shots at the beginning of that match there.
I'll be sure to include it. So, yeah, that was some good matches. A lot better than I would have done on my own, I'll tell you that.
Those were some good matches.
Okay, well, I think that's about it. Thank you so much for joining us. Do you want to talk about what you do, where people can find you, any of that stuff that wasn't touched on earlier? If
Blob
there's
is
anything
next,
else
right?
that you wanted to say about you?
I'm trying to remember what the next weapon is before he like announces it. Because I was like looking at the list. Is it like Rapid Pro? Something like that. There were 3 level 18 weapons. There's like Bamboo, Rapid Pro, something else. I want to say Blob, but I feel like it's not.
Not really. You probably will see me in a lot of tournaments, especially as the 3rd game is coming out. So
Let's
you can
go.
probably follow me on Twitter at Kotetsu Ryolu. I also stream sometimes on Twitch at the same Kotetsu Ryolu. And yeah, I'm mostly just a competitive Splatoon player that loves this game, loves competing, loves the community. And
Like a Where's Waldo, you just pop up everywhere.
yeah.
On my screen, you're chatting up a girl in my Inkopolis square. I'm like standing over your shoulder, wearing shades, staring at you guys uncomfortably. Panic, ma'am. I'm just his wingman.
I was gonna say, are you wingmanning me?
I'm awkwardly staring with like my mouth in your ear.
Bodyguard.
Okay, well, I guess that's about it for now. Next time on Splatoon 2, totally not checking my notes to see what weapon we have coming up next. Oh, okay. We get a new weapon class entirely. See you guys then.
Oh, it's Squeezer, isn't it? Right? No, he already did Squeezer. New weapon class. What's he talking about? What's he talking about? I'm checking the wiki. I'm checking the wiki. I'm too lazy. He's been doing it by level. Oh yeah, Explosher. That's what it was. Oh, no. It was Explo and L3. Okay, those are the other 2 things. So, has he done a nozzle nose? He did Squeezer. So, like, it's whether he counts Explo as a new weapon class or not. I don't know.